But another anomaly was that the bismuth magnesium layered
Basically, I've exhausted every resource that I have ever tried to use in the past.
Where it talks about not made by human hands, not of this earth, and so on.
These are 13 pages of typed notes written by Dr. Eric Davis in 2002 when he was a member of the National Institute of Discovery Science, that's NIDS, owned and managed by billionaire Robert Bigelow.
One of his pieces that we looked at together when I visited was magnesium bismuth.
Bismuth layers less than a human hair, supposedly picked up in the crash retrieval of an advanced aerospace vehicle.
And study pieces of material that may have been stashed away for decades after being retrieved from the sites of close encounters. Elizondo says there are legitimate reasons why the military and now private groups are in a race to figure out these materials.
There is a ranch in Nevada near Area 51 that was secretly researched by Bob Bigelow's original Skinwalker Ranch team of psychic spies. For decades, while simultaneously researching Skinwalker Ranch, the NIDS team was searching for the lost entrance into a giant cave system of ancient alien artifacts. An abandoned alien mining operation leading to a 500-foot underground pyramid hiding a UFO nicknamed the Mount Wilson Manta Ray. For thousands of years, indigenous people have known and protected its secrets. For decades, top-secret government teams, even before Ronald Reagan's Star Wars program, were scouring the ranch attempting to recover the metamaterials, biological material, and ancient unknown artifacts, and were stopped by an explosion of paranormal activity. Animal mutilations, alien abductions, poltergeist activity, moving orbs of light and shadow figures, strange glitches in time, and the ghost of a Native American shaman appearing alongside with 3 extraterrestrial beings who protect the land. Now, new leaked whistleblower evidence has confirmed the truth behind these local legends. New ancient artifacts are being discovered, and mysterious energy is transmitting from the meadow, and an undiscovered tunnel entrance has been found. Independent researchers, scientists, archaeologists, and Native American historians have joined me, Carl Crusher, to uncover the truth. We are on a mission to find the lost entrance into the underground and uncover the real mystery of Mount Wilson Ranch.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Carl Crusher. We're going to be doing a live question and answer session with you guys all tonight. And so I have the comment section open up. And even on my phone, when you guys see me looking down at my phone, I'm not distracted from the live stream. This is actually a part of the live stream because I have my Patreon Inner Circle open to the live chat for my members of my Patreon group here. So I'm going to be treating my Patreon Inner Circle just as if they are part of a super chat here in the live stream. So I'm going to be watching on YouTube for the super chat questions to come in, and also for everybody, even Candace Cleary on Patreon right now is saying hi to Carl and everybody. So hi to the Patreon Inner Circle over there on the chat. My phone keeps closing out on me, so I'm going to open that as we go along. Now, for tonight, I wanted to do a live question and answer session because I'm getting ready to go out of town. I'm flying to Florida. I'm going to be going on the Mike Busey show, the podcast. He's had Steve-O and Post Malone and a lot of really famous people on there. He's really connected into the community. And he's also been really fascinated with the mystery at Mount Wilson Ranch, ufology, and a lot of people who are considered misfits in society are actually into all of this stuff and good friends of mine. So I'm going to be flying out to Florida tomorrow morning and going on the Mike Busey show to do his podcast. I don't know what he has planned for me, but it's going to be an awesome opportunity for me to be able to get the word out and talk about all of the work that I've been doing for Beyond Skinwalker Ranch in connection with the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch with the History Channel, as well as the Mystery of Mount Wilson Ranch, Magic Mesa, and the entire UFO crash recovery phenomena that's going all the way up into Congress now with these closed door hearings and all this stuff coming out. Now, I didn't want to put a whole bunch of stuff together. Usually I like to come loaded with all my ammunition prepared that I can pull up on screen and just fire at you guys so you have a full presentation. And I usually don't give you guys a full opportunity just to ask me questions for a full Q&A. I've been doing a lot of work from up at Skinwalker Ranch all the way across to the Grand Canyon, down into Arizona, Nevada, working with Roger and Colleen and the Re-Indigenizing Minds Project over at the Area 51, all over the place. And so I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to ask me questions, and we could discuss it live during this Q&A and give you all the opportunity to do that. One of the main focuses that I obviously packaged together for this presentation or for this Q&A was the emphasis on the last few videos that I did up at Mount Wilson Ranch and the discovery out of that book, Fast Walker, that was written by Jacques Vallee. Now, someone in the comment section was really clever, and they actually figured out that Fast Walker, that book by Jacques Vallee, was published 10 years before in French. And so it's even more interesting. That makes it connect even more, because for the story to line up so perfectly with all of the local stories and everything that happened when it's published in English in 1996, how did Jacques Vallee know that entire story about everything that happened at Mount Wilson 10 years before when he published the book in his native language in French? And so I don't understand that unless he was aware of a secret UFO crash recovery program that happened at the base of a mountain in Nevada at an archaeological dig site a year before the Roswell crash. So the Roswell crash supposedly happened in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, but the archaeological dig happened with the owner E.L. Norris at Mount Wilson Ranch in Nevada in 1946, a year before. Suddenly in 1949, the owner of Mount Wilson Ranch goes from a nobody to a senator from Nevada, for the entire state. It's totally crazy. And so he went from a nobody to a senator, and right after his archaeological dig at the base of a mountain in Nevada, a year after the Roswell crash happens in New Mexico. And then in 1951, that's why they call it Area 51, is because in 1951 is when apparently it was formed to try and deal with what was recovered at the Roswell crash. I am proposing in this live Q&A and in my previous videos that the actual metamaterials that was sent to Art Bell, that is at the center of these congressional hearings, that was supposed to come from the Roswell crash, was actually recovered metamaterials from the archaeological dig that happened at the top secret site at Mount Wilson, Nevada. So I want to open all of that up for questions and conversation and a whole discussion. And I've got the chat open. I think there's plenty of evidence and a timeline. I've got a lot of that information in my head. And since I'm getting ready to fly to Florida, this is a great opportunity for me to kind of warm up my podcasting voice and my live skills, being able to talk with you guys. So it looks like Jeff's even here from Mount Wilson Ranch in the chat. We got Roger from Re-Indigenizing Minds over there, and all of this stuff going on. So I'm going to start popping up stuff on the screen. Everybody should be able to see this. So if you want to go join the Re-Indigenizing Minds project, Roger Culte and Colleen Gorman have a Patreon page and a YouTube channel where they map together all of the ancient petroglyphs, ancient maps, and everything that have to do with Roger's heritage from the Clatsop tribe up on the Pacific Northwest. He got this knowledge from his, is it your great-great-grandfather? I can't remember. But yeah, one of his ancestors had this knowledge of these trade routes that go all the way back to the Aztec Empire and Montezuma, and the trade routes that go all the way up through Mount Wilson Ranch, all the way up into Skinwalker Ranch. And we've been working together on all this, and he's been helping me sort all of that out. Okay, I'm going to open up my Patreon as well. See if we got any live chat questions. Everybody's just saying hi in the live chat on Patreon. Crazy Scott's in there. Maximus is in there. Candace Cleary. Welcome everybody to the live stream. So I appreciate all you guys being here. So Nathan is calling this clickbait. So let me just lay out the absolute history of the metamaterial and why this is not clickbait, Nathan, if you're still here. And we're going to tie this all in. So we're going to go clear back into World War II, and it starts with the race for weapons superiority in World War II. This is before Area 51, before the Roswell crash, before Skinwalker Ranch, before any of this was even a thing. When World War II happened, there was this entire weapons and technology race that kicked off with the Nazis in Germany, the Russians, the Japanese, and the Americans. And by all means, the Russians and the Americans won World War II at the end of that, and it kicked off the Cold War. But at the end of World War II, there was an entire hydra of secret programs that developed at the very tail end of that. That wasn't just the Manhattan Project and the nuclear programs. There was all sorts of other programs that included the Montauk Project, MJ-12. There was the secret technology race, all the aerospace programs and race, the MK Ultra. There was multiple different aspects of these secret programs, and one of them was Project Paperclip, where they took hundreds of these Nazi research scientists, biologists, doctors, rocket engineers, and everything, and they basically brought them into America and started these secret programs. And one of the things that occurred at that time was the discovery of the Wunderweapon and the Wonder Weapon, this anti-gravity bell-shaped device, or this UFO type of craft that the Germans were supposedly reverse engineering from recovered UFO materials or communication with extraterrestrials or some secret program that they had. And so as a part of this, they actually, in Project Paperclip, they realized all of this, and this initial radar defense system kicked off called Project Bambi. This is the predecessor to the MX missile program and the Star Wars defense program and the nuclear defense programs. Project Bambi was a radar defense system, almost like Israel's Iron Dome. And there was all of these different places that they went and tried to implement this radar defense system. And all over the state of Nevada, properties were bought and purchased to try and install this. And right at the beginning of this is when E.L. Norris owns Mount Wilson Ranch and buys it in the 1930s. He starts an archaeological dig and then becomes a senator by 1949. The metamaterials that turn up that are all part of the U.S. congressional hearing that supposedly came from Roswell actually came from Mount Wilson a year earlier in 1946 as part of that archaeological dig that Bob Lazar references when he talks about the UFO that he saw being from an archaeological dig. And all of these stories about football stadium sized craft going in and out of mountains and hiding under mountains all started at Mount Wilson Ranch in Nevada in 1946. So something happened in the 1940s in Mount Wilson up there. And then Bob Bigelow's entire team goes back up there before owning Skinwalker Ranch and owns it for a full decade with the giant bulldozer up there digging in the ground. And that the same time that they're at Mount Wilson Ranch in 1996, when we have all the photographs of them up there, they actually, the metamaterials show up at Art Bell's desk in a shoebox. The bismuth metamaterial alloys show up in a shoebox at Art Bell's desk on Coast to Coast AM in Las Vegas. And all of that was written about in 1986 in Jacques Vallee's book, Fast Walker, about a ranch in Nevada. And he even says in there that Roswell was a cover-up that they created a year later as a part of the MJ-12 program to hide what actually happened in an archaeological dig in Nevada. That's what the entire book is about. So we have a super chat question and a Patreon question, which is, why are they hiding from everybody? Let me pin this up here. I got to scroll back a little bit. I kind of went off on a rant to answer that clickbait claim. So the bismuth metamaterial is actually in possession of the people at To the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge. Hal Puthoff has it in his possession, and he is working right next to the ex-CEO and one of the head engineers of Lockheed Martin. All of these congressional hearings are talking about this bismuth metamaterial. And if you go look at a bunch of these recent podcasts and even the shows and interviews with David Grusch, it cuts to all these clips of Gary Nolan and Hal Puthoff and all these guys, and they are talking about this bismuth material. There's even interviews that are coming out talking about this bismuth hybrid metamaterial being a living organic thing that has some form of consciousness that's tied to it, even in the small sample, meaning they're getting some sort of conscious active response from testing even the bismuth sample. But being able to study that sample, Lockheed Martin was apparently, and this is very dangerous to even talk about, they were able to, in their top secret programs, very early in the 1940s and 50s, were able to reverse engineer and figure out this bismuth alloy, and not only figure out what it did, but use it to make contact as well, and to reverse engineer a whole bunch of our stealth program and our secret aerospace program, which is probably about more like 300 years ahead of what we see right now. But that's all just like out there. But Crazy Scott's asking, why are they hiding from everyone? So I got to clarify, why or who hiding from everyone? The extraterrestrials? I would have to say that, why are they hiding from everybody? I would say that they're really not. I think it comes to a difficulty of a form of lack of communication on our part. I think in a lot of ways, we are primed to be blind to this and be deaf to it, and to not be able to even perceive those spectrums of communication and reality that are constantly around us. So if you look into some of the new research in quantum physics and the nature of reality and consciousness, we learn that our human consciousness is a non-local thing to the body, meaning that what you think of as who you are and the thoughts in your mind aren't just occurring inside your skull and inside your cranium, but are part of an interconnected quantum field that goes beyond time. So all these things that we just consider daydreaming and subconscious thoughts and dreams that we have at night, remote viewing, psychic events, and paranormal phenomena could be very heavily integrated and tied in to what we're experiencing with this and with the true nature of reality that we're just beginning to understand. So that's a really important question. I don't know that they're hiding from us. I think it's more that we are trying to learn through our own evolution and our own waking up to our own human potential, how to make contact. So how I can connect that to Mount Wilson Ranch and back to the metamaterials in a way is that when we go up there, it does appear to be a form of communication that occurs. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Arrival that has those big stone UFOs that appear, and there's like those strange aliens that almost communicate in Rorschach ink blots, and they have to communicate through that. But as they begin to try and communicate through those ink blots, with those extraterrestrials on the craft, they also start to experience these strange dreams and time travel phenomena and this kind of quantum entanglement where all the characters are having these visions of the future and of the past. And all of that is honestly very, very similar to the stories that have been going on and things that I've even personally experienced when I've been up at Mount Wilson, and even the short time that I've been around Skinwalker Ranch, especially the first time that I went there and when I went alone. So yeah, it's been a kind of a crazy experience to all of that. So those are some great questions, and there's a lot of people in here in the chat right now, and the questions are flying fast. So I'm going to check the Patreon again. So we got one from Maximus here. Says that, I'm assuming this bismuth material isn't regular bismuth. Is it a special mixture of bismuth with another unknown material? So excellent question. So yeah, the entire thing that defines this as metamaterial is the fact that it has these exotic, unknown characteristics and qualities to it, enough that it made Lockheed Martin go from nothing to what it is today. And Area 51 went from nothing to becoming Area 51. And it could literally be related to this little chunk of bismuth was actually attached to. So if you remember in the original story, the original piece of bismuth was like a mixed material that had zinc and aluminum and other things that were almost like they were 3D printed into this exotic layering. And then the first person to really test the samples, as far as we know of, was Travis Taylor from Skinwalker Ranch. And if we want, in fact, why don't we just go ahead? I've got it sitting here ready to go. So let's just pull it up here. We'll go like this, and I'll move myself out of the way again. So this is the video here that I put up on my YouTube channel. And if you go here down in the description box, there's a huge amount of links that goes into the Pentagon's UFO program, interviews with Edgar Mitchell, the Wilson Davis Memo and document, all of this stuff, Bob Lazar's interviews with Joe Rogan, and this interview with Linda Moulton Howe. This was spelled wrong, but that's how I put it in because the video is titled that way. But in this video, there's actually clips of Linda. Let me see. I'll
interacting with our
here. We'll go right to this video. This is clear back in 2004. And she says that this bismuth, hang on, we'll come back here.
was essentially 99+% pure aluminum, which is unusual in terms of the metal industry and the shapes in which they were sent. Well, there. Out to be aluminum.
I'll skip around here a little bit so it's not too slow.
Now we're talking about an
okay, so this is
down
the
with
letter
some
that
of
it
us
came
have
with. So notice this was in April 10th, 1996. And all of the photos that we have of the team up at Mount Wilson Ranch were taken up there in 1996. And we know they were up there in 1994. And that's magically when this metamaterial shows up and appears on Art Bell's desk down in Vegas. But somehow it came from Roswell? That doesn't make any sense. The dig and the team that was actually working in this UFO secret recovery program was Bob Bigelow, Jacques Vallee, Hal Puthoff, who's with Tom DeLonge right now as one of his lead physicists and researchers, Dr. Tim Rynne, who has more patents with DARPA, the Army, the Navy, for directed energy weapons and phased arrays and radars and all this kinds of stuff. The list is like 13 pages long. That's even just public information. Colm Kelleher is up there. Who else? Holy smokes. I mean, the list goes on. And then the stories of there being remote viewers like Ingo Swann and stuff up there are also amazing. So what were they all doing up there before Skinwalker Ranch, the exact same year that this bismuth metamaterial? So here's where she starts talking about the composition. So let's take a listen to answer your question.
In the next slide. Each sample had a silvery, shiny side with a rough, granular appearance. The other side was blackish gray. Looking at the sample's edge-on, numerous layers can be seen. The samples were hard but brittle, and a few small pieces could be broken off using a small hand vise and a manual pressure. Quote, energy dispersive spectroscopy revealed that the shiny side contained more than 95% magnesium and a small amount of zinc, which later turned out to be 2.4%. Next slide. The dark side contained a significant amount of bismuth. Actually, from all results that have been done in half a dozen labs, almost 100%. Quote, the material appears to represent layers consisting mainly of magnesium and a small amount of zinc separated by thin layers containing a high bismuth content, unquote. Next slide. The scanning electron microscope was set in a backscattering configuration so that heavier elements show up brighter. Therefore, the dark bismuth appears as these thin white lines illustrating the layering. And what you've got is 1 to 4 microns.
Okay, let's jump
Think
ahead
of
here.
a blood cell is about 7.
This is let's listen to Travis Taylor talk about the bismuth. So here's a funny story. So I contacted Travis Taylor as soon as I found that video of Linda Moulton Howe. I realized, one, in 2004, Travis Taylor was already a member of the Defense Intelligence Agency clear back then. Okay, and then the second thing that I realized is that he was the first one to analyze and study the bismuth. And so we went for that too. So let's go ahead and pull this up, and you can listen to Travis Taylor talk about the bismuth as well.
Exhausted every resource that I have ever tried to use in the past, from about 1940 to now, and I have found no reference, even in government research, for bismuth magnesium layers.
Do you have any thoughts about why there is no reference and yet we've got this material?
Yeah, this material didn't just make itself. It had to come from somewhere. And it's my personal opinion, anyway, that this is either a top secret type thing. Maybe back in the 40s they were doing the first stealth research or something, and it was a stealth craft that crashed, and that's why we haven't heard of it, because it was top secret, or we didn't build it. That's one of the things about this material that excites me, is because somebody had to build it, and nobody has reported building it. And it's a very high-tech piece of material, so if they didn't report it, then why did they build it?
Right.
That's the thing we do in science, is we do some research, and then we tell everybody about it. And nobody's told anybody about this material.
Then, on September 12th, 1996, Travis tried.
So then he tests it.
He now is talking about. So he's making all kinds of. Okay.
I don't know why she makes that sound effect.
Well, you're missing being able to hear the physicist talk about. He now is talking about what he's doing.
So I'm going to go ahead and mute this while this plays over here. But the idea is this is the exact same piece of bismuth metamaterial that now Hal Puthoff, David Grusch, Gary Nolan, and all these guys are confident enough to go straight to Congress with Grusch and say that this is the metamaterial, this is the real thing. And then just this morning, Jeff sent me an interview of people talking about that this metamaterial has attributes to it in the secret files, that has some kind of DNA infused and imbued into the way it was made. So as far as it just being bismuth, it has organic. This is why when they say there was biologics recovered, they're talking about the same thing, and they're always like and iffy in how they talk about it. So they say they've recovered crashed exotic materials that they don't understand, and they also say that they've recovered biologics, and people want that to be bodies, but it could literally be biological living craft material that we don't understand. Somehow this is embedded with living organics or DNA somehow, and the craft itself is like a living thing. And I've definitely heard that in other people before too. By the way, that was a cassette player she's holding up from the from the 90s. It's a fascinating thing to think about. But when you actually look at the timeline, when it comes to any other location, as far as the UFO crash recovery program and the duration and the timeline historically, when you look at Roswell supposedly happened in 1947, but when you go there now, Is there a government security building? Is there armed guards there now? Do they have some big archaeological dig where they're trying to comb and study that place for more information scientifically? Or is it just a big dirt field with weeds? It's literally a field with weeds. And so, like, there's no armed guards out there. It's not like it's some private scientific research thing where they're looking for stuff underground. When you go to Skinwalker Ranch and you talk about that, it gets more interesting because there you've actually had a long time standing team of government funded researchers that goes clear back into the 90s, you know. And at that same time, before that, the family that owned Skinwalker Ranch was just the Shermans, and they were cattle ranchers. It wasn't a government research project. There wasn't any mining or archaeological digs going on, none of that. But when you go to Mount Wilson and you go to Nevada, not only do all the historical dates line up with Roswell and Jacques Vallee's books and him in his writings talking about it, Roswell being a cover-up to hide what happened a year before in Nevada, but the dates with the ownership of Nevada happening with him becoming a senator in 1949, 1951, Area 51 forms. And then ever since then, you've got this UFO secret crash recovery program. And tied to that directly is the Wilson Davis Memo with Eric Davis, who is one of the main people and main scientists that we see up there with Bob Bigelow at Mount Wilson Ranch. In 1996, the same year that this bismuth magically shows up in the shoebox in Art Bell's desk, and Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff start talking about the MJ-12 program. So the whole thing is definitely suspect. So I might be lagging a little bit here. I'm going to drop these background windows. People are saying that I'm lagging and super blurry and everything like that. So we might keep this one a little bit shorter. And I'm going to also pull my other internet windows down, and we're just going to go live here. So, okay, I've got all the chat windows open up here. I'm going to look at my Patreon one more time here. Does anybody have any more questions? Sorry about the bad video quality and the lag. People are saying that other people are saying that I'm not lagging. Interesting. Okay. So I had a couple of other windows open to pull other stuff up, but honestly, I should have started off this entire conversation with how this is probably going to get disrupted, and things happen. Every single time that I've tried to do live shows or live interviews, I have different kinds of effects and things that happen. So if it is blurry or if I am lagging, sorry. Well, maybe I'll just take this off of YouTube and put it on Spotify as like an audio podcast at some point, because most of this is just meant to be for the conversation anyway. So let's just go ahead and jump to the conversation of the Q&A, and we'll go for like maybe another 10 minutes here with the Q&A, and then we'll call it good. So if I'm lagging, I don't want to make everybody suffer over here. We got another $5 super chat coming in from Crazy Scott, just saying, thank you. The truth is out there. So just as kind of a bonus compliment to this, I know there's not a question there for you, Crazy Scott, but I'm just going to say that the truth is definitely out there. But I would just say that a lot of the evidence is lining up with not only with what Grusch is saying, but what all of the people in these secret programs talk about, with what Tom DeLonge talks about in podcasts and what he writes about in his books, and even what I'm experiencing in these locations, is that the truth isn't just out there as far as up in outer space. I think we have been led to believe that aliens or extraterrestrials come from Mars. And then after that, we've evolved to understand that maybe they come from other solar systems and galaxies. And now we're starting to understand quantum science and these ideas of parallel dimensions or other dimensions of reality that could be like sub-basement frequency dimensions right alongside of us. These are our cousins that live just offside the spectrum of the rainbow, just beyond the infrared, just beyond the ultraviolet, past our spectrum of being able to detect it. But just now, when in the recent in recent times with that development of the technology with Project Bambi, that radar defense system technology. Imagine in the 1930s and early 1940s, they turn on this radar defense system to try and detect nuclear missile threats coming in from Russia. And all of a sudden, the thing starts lighting up and saying, active threat. We see a target. There's something coming here. There's something going there. And they're like, so wait, is this wrong? Is the radar defense system actually working, or what's happening here? And then you realize you're catching unidentified flying objects. These aren't from Russia. They aren't from anywhere else. And back then, the original radar defense operators, they nicknamed these objects fast walkers. Now the nickname has developed to this Navajo curse on the ground that is the skinwalker, but it originally was the fast walkers, and that was the original name. They weren't flying saucers. They weren't unidentified flying objects. They called them fast walkers. And these were objects that were seen by Nellis Air Force Base pilots in the beginning in the and Nellis Air Force Base started like in 1940 or 1941. And like in 1943, 44, the pilots and the radar operators started seeing these fast walkers going past their planes and then going into the bottom of these mountains, like a tunnel opening up and then disappearing. And this all was occurring, I think, at Mount Wilson Ranch, because suddenly you had that guy, the owner, E.L. Norris, becoming a senator. The Project Bambi was up there. The MX missile program was up there. Ronald Reagan's Star Wars program was up there. And then Bigelow buys the place and does operations up there for like 10 years, the same time that the metamaterials recovered. So I don't know how else to put it all into words to make sense, but people are saying my face is shape-shifting into like a reptile, but it's literally on my screen. It's crystal clear. It's just going through some kind of a weird internet lag. YouTube has been doxing my channel like crazy. So all of the links, I'm going to go and I'll copy from that other video that I referenced that had Linda Moulton Howe in it, talking about the bismuth, how it relates to Travis Taylor and his studies. I mean, look at my channel. This is the whole thing. Okay, I'm just going to say this right now. Okay, people look at my channel. They see I've got 3.1 million subscribers. And then you look at my recent videos and I barely get 3,000 views. And all of that happened as soon as I changed from making videos with my kids and playing games with my kids online to talking about UFOs and the secret space program and Skinwalker Ranch. As soon as I shifted over to this topic, my channel went literally in the toilet, literally got suppressed. And I've even gotten phone calls that have told me that this was going to happen to me if I kept going down this path. But that's why I have a Patreon. That's why I just get the word out. I publish it out multiple platforms. I try to have several different ways. I'm going to go guest appear on other podcasts. And even if they blur my frequency and take my money away or whatever, I'm literally going to sell my house and move like into St. George or down to Las Vegas so I can be out of debt and become more untouchable. So there's nothing like this that they can do to suppress this information anymore. So it's going to come out. It's a path that's happening, whether they like it or not. And I think that they know it. So as long as my audio is clear and everybody can hear me, I really don't care. So, but yeah, I think what we need to do is, you're right, Joe. We need to start looking for bismuth. And the initial whistleblower that sent us the photographs of Bigelow at Mount Wilson Ranch that really unlocked a lot of this for us. One of the main things that he said to us on that phone call, he said, listen, all you guys have to do is find the metamaterial. If you can get your hands on more metamaterial, you're going to change the world. And he basically said that to us. It's like, none of this other shit matters. If you guys find more metamaterial, no one will be able to say anything else. But here's the problem, is all of our evidence and our research shows that this metamaterial could literally be over 200 feet down in a difficult to access tunnel system that has been covered up with decoys, and we've gotten all kinds of information and some false information that we have to comb through. It's not just as simple as digging a hole open, but I promise you, we already have. We have dug open at the plausible tunnel entrance. I can't be too specific, but the History Channel did come back up there with the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch team, and we did attack the main tunnel entrance. We brought up probably $1 million worth of digging and tunnel equipment and drill equipment and drones, ground penetrating radar, magnetometers, and all kinds of stuff up there. And all of that's going to come out in June. I am able to give some of the behind the scenes and sneak peeks again on my Patreon, because it's more private and contractual, but a lot of that I'm basically trying to bring that all out here. So here's another question over here that we got. Does Linda have the metamaterials? So Linda Moulton Howe got the metamaterials from Art Bell. She gave some of them to Hal Puthoff and the others to Travis Taylor. I was told by Travis Taylor, specifically in a text, that he studied them, filmed those videos, and sent the video and the samples back to Linda, and then they went to Hal Puthoff after that. The other metamaterials, as far as I know, I can't validate this or not, is they came from Chris Bledsoe's backyard. Chris Bledsoe and his son, when they had an encounter, an abduction experience, when a UFO basically was leaving their backyard, this slag fell off the back, they recovered it, and Lou Elizondo came and took it, and all of that, including the metamaterials from Linda Moulton Howe, are now all at To the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge and the former executive and engineer from Lockheed Martin, which is literally all these guys are the central focus of the U.S. congressional hearings and David Grusch going in front of Congress and these Senate hearings and everybody coming out of these private meetings behind closed doors in the skiffs and talking about this stuff, trying to solve this metamaterial and biologics project. But why can't they say, where did it come from? Everybody's talking about, okay, where is the craft? Where did they take it? Yeah, it's at Lockheed Martin, Lockheed at this specific place, and that's where they have it. And that whole cover-up started the secret space program and UFO crash reverse engineering program. But where did they get it from? And everything that I've been able to uncover says that it came from an actual archaeological dig, from a tunnel system, from an ancient ritual site or an ancient location, not from a crash that fell out of the sky. Either that, or it was something that was brought down by that initial radar defense system, and it happened in Nevada, not in New Mexico. So if Roswell looked like it was a balloon with tinfoil and the whole thing was a cover-up, and it all seems fishy that they posted the article and came out with it, and then there was nothing that goes on there, there's probably a good reason for that, because it actually probably happened somewhere else, not from a crash from the sky, but from an archaeological dig out of the ground, where this was either an entire craft was taken and recovered, or a piece was taken off of one, or that small piece was flaked off and used and sent to Art Bell later, or Bob Bigelow's team, when they went back up in the 1990s to Mount Wilson Ranch, got some more of it, and they kept some of those samples and they sent it to Art Bell. And now all of this is going on with Gary Nolan, David Grusch, and Hal Puthoff, and these guys all going up to Congress trying to convince them that they need to change the laws around safety for whistleblowers and witnesses to UFOs. So where I found all of this is by going to Mount Wilson Ranch itself, going to Skinwalker Ranch, reading all of the historical records in the books, and just making this my life mission. It really is. I know that Vallee's book says that it's all fiction, but the names in the book, the dates, the events and everything that happened, and even the days and times that he published it, and when the metamaterials all occurred, is still like it's truth. And when you look and listen to what Tom DeLonge says, working with Hal Puthoff, he started a media entertainment company called To the Stars Academy that has a whole entertainment division that even makes cartoons and music videos and everything. And they see that as a form of disclosure. So the fictional books by Jacques Vallee and the shows and even the music from Blink 182 talking about aliens are all part of this plan for disclosure, apparently. Tom DeLonge even has books that they've published out of there that are all fictional, that talk about UFO reverse engineering programs at Area 51 and test flights and encounters with real UFOs at the exact same time. And these are all fictional books. But when you listen to him talk on like the Steve-O podcast and stuff, he flat out, says that their whole plan was to start this entertainment and media company to put out these movies, entertainment, and music to try and prepare humanity for the truth of what extraterrestrials are, and that they're not coming from outer space, but they're more like ultra terrestrials. They've always been here. They live in this sub-dimension or frequency alongside of us, and they've been interacting with us since the beginning of time. And the ancient indigenous records, including the petroglyphs and everything that goes back tens of thousands of years, down even all the ancient pyramid builds and everything in all these cultures that seem to be inexplainable to us, suddenly makes sense when this interaction through consciousness and meditation and geomancy and these pyramid builds and ancient rituals and things suddenly connected with this type of dimension of reality. And we're just now somehow remembering and figuring this out today. So yeah, so this has been a great conversation and a lot of tons of great comments, and I love having all the people here. Appreciate you guys. A lot of good interaction and comments today. Any last questions before I go? And we're running up on 50 minutes now. I don't know if my video is still blurry or not. Hopefully it's clear for most of you guys, but can I say cuckoo, cuckoo? Of course I can say it. We're totally live. People like to test and see if this is live or not by making comments like that. So do I want to learn telekinesis and telepathy? I think that all falls into the same sort of category as remote viewing, psychic tethering, out-of-body travel, astral projection. They're all sort of different focuses or different nuances to this same type of phenomena and connection. And telekinesis and telepathy could also be like psychokinesis. Psychokinesis was something heavily studied in the MK Ultra programs, and some of the members of the early MK Ultra were up at Mount Wilson. In fact, Hal Puthoff might have been one. In fact, Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis might have been part of MJ12 as well. But really fascinating how they all connect. Yes, I have definitely studied remote viewing. I've done a lot of the Monroe Institute studies and all of the Gateway Institute, Gateway Method tapes. I do Buddhist meditation, and I was raised a Mormon, although I'm no longer a member. So I have a whole slew of background and approaches going into this. Yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in this entire mystery and want to know more about the metamaterials, the crashed UFO recovery programs and reverse engineering programs, the bismuth and how it relates to Roswell and Mount Wilson and even to Skinwalker Ranch, I have got specific playlists that are set up on my YouTube channel where you can go to the playlists tab, and it's sorted by Beyond Skinwalker, Mount Wilson Ranch, and there's Mount Wilson Ranch season 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then there's even Ancient Mysteries and Portal series that I've got all lined up into documentary series that you can go check out. And if you want to be the first to know and to see or hear about it, going over to my Patreon page is the best place to do it. In fact, we got a new Patreon Inner Circle member that just joined. I got the notification. Pamela TX17 joined as a member. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Inner Circle, Pamela. Appreciate it so much. So I got another super chat that came in here real quick. Do I know anything about L? Well, so that's weird. So I'm not sure about L and EL, but that kind of sent chills up my spine because I've had a couple of visions where a character named Ka-El shows up, and it's not Superman. It's like it's weird. I don't want to really get into it on this live stream, but I'm not sure about when you're talking about EL, are you talking about some type of psychic frequency, or maybe if you'll spell out the acronym for me a little bit better. Lisa, thank you so much. Just showing $20 support for the super chat. Appreciate you guys. El Elohim. So El Elohim, that was the god of Mormonism. And according to Mormons in the secret study of El, he lived on a planet. He used to be a man just like us, but then ascended and became a god. Now he lives on a planet called Kolob, and he uses that planet like a giant crystal ball because it's already been purified to look into it and basically control the universe. That's what Elohim was, but that was not really what Elohim means. If you go study the actual beginnings of the meanings of the term Elohim, it means totally different. It means more like a council of leaders or something like that. It's totally different. So, all right, guys, people are saying that I'm lacking. I appreciate you guys so much. We've been going on about 50 minutes. I just kind of wanted to cover this entire spectrum of the bismuth and get it all out, let people ask me some questions, and figure out where you can get more answers to all of this. Also, if you go in the links down in the description below, you'll find my link tree and the one for Mount Wilson Ranch. So you can follow all of my links everywhere and Mount Wilson's everywhere, and even go to the Mount Wilson Patreon where you can become a member there and even get a room and go stay and see the place yourself. So if you want to go look for metamaterials, try to find bismuth and get a metal detector, you can even go on there and get a room and go to Mount Wilson and stay there yourself. So it's completely an open opportunity to do that. So I appreciate you guys a whole bunch, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Let's watch this intro one more time on the way out, just so we can soak it all back in.
But another anomaly was that the bismuth magnesium layer.
Basically, I've exhausted every resource that I have ever tried to use in the past,
where it talks about not made by human hands, not of this earth, and so on.
These are 13 pages of typed notes written by Dr. Eric Davis in 2002 when he was a member of the National Institute of Discovery Science, that's NIDS, owned and managed by billionaire Robert Bigelow.
One of his pieces that we looked at together when I visited was magnesium bismuth.
Bismuth layers less than a human hair, supposedly picked up in the crash retrieval of an advanced aerospace vehicle.
And study pieces of material that may have been stashed away for decades after being retrieved from the sites of close encounters. Elizondo says there are legitimate reasons why the military and now private groups are in a race to figure out these materials.
There is a ranch in Nevada near Area 51 that was secretly researched by Bob Bigelow's original Skinwalker Ranch team of psychic spies. For decades, while simultaneously researching Skinwalker Ranch, the NIDS team was searching for the lost entrance into a giant cave system of ancient alien artifacts. An abandoned alien mining operation leading to a 500-foot underground pyramid hiding a UFO nicknamed the Mount Wilson Manta Ray. For thousands of years, indigenous people have known and protected its secrets. For decades, top-secret government teams, even before Ronald Reagan's Star Wars program, were scouring the ranch attempting to recover the metamaterials, biological material, and ancient unknown artifacts, and were stopped by an explosion of paranormal activity. Animal mutilations, alien abductions, poltergeist activity, moving orbs of light and shadow figures, strange glitches in time, and the ghost of a Native American shaman appearing alongside with 3 extraterrestrial beings who protect the land. Now, New leaked whistleblower evidence has confirmed the truth behind these local legends. New ancient artifacts are being discovered, and mysterious energy is transmitting from the meadow, and an undiscovered tunnel entrance has been found. Independent researchers, scientists, archaeologists, and Native American historians have joined me, Carl Crusher, to uncover the truth. We are on a mission to find the lost entrance into the underground and uncover the real mystery of Mount Wilson Ranch.